Hello. Hey guys, welcome back, or it's the first time here, welcome. I really hope you enjoyed today's video as well as my channel. If you do, definitely do not forget to hit that subscribe button down below so that we could, continue to see each other in the future. So today's video is going to be yet another collection slash declutter video. So if you're not aware, I did start a makeup collection series where I basically just go through my whole entire makeup collection category by category, and I give you guys a little bit more of an in-depth look into what my collection holds. So I basically give you guys like a little mini review for every product, and I also do a little bit of a decluttering while I'm at it. So today we're going to be going through my eyeshadow palette collection as well as decluttering it a little bit. Do not forget to let me know all of your thoughts in the comments, and definitely also let me know some of your current favorite eyeshadow palettes and maybe some that are just not really working out for you as well. We'll love to hear all of your thoughts, and give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoy these collection videos. Quick little disclaimer before I start, because I get this question all the time: what do I do with the products that I declutter? If the product is brand new, I will donate it. I donate a ton of makeup to women's shelters all the time, but I am only able to donate it if the product is completely unused. Product is used, and then I will give it to either family or friends. I also want to say that I'm totally aware that I have more eyeshadow palettes than anybody would ever need. YouTube is my job, and testing out makeup comes with that job. So not only am I constantly needing to buy new products in order to test them out for you guys, but I also do get a lot of products sent to me. So my collection has definitely built up over time. So yeah, that is my little disclaimer. I just wanted to get that out of the way. I feel like I always have to do it, so let's get right into it. Store all of my eyeshadow palettes in this IKEA unit. I talk way more about it in depth in my beauty room tour, but basically I put all of my palettes in these little white baskets that I also got from IKEA, and really there is no rhyme and reason as to where the palettes go. Ooh, I love these so much. So this is my little melt eyeshadow stack. I love melt eyeshadows. I'm definitely not getting rid of this because I use it all the time. This stack basically just contains my rest stack and then a few other melt eyeshadows that I like to use. The melt eyeshadows are so beautiful. They blend gorgeously. They have some really unique colors, like this one over here called Rubbish is such a cool like yellowish brown. They're definitely a little bit pricier, but I do think that they're totally worth it, and I love the packaging. I think it's really cool. Definitely keeping these. Also highly recommend them. Next, we've got an oldie but a goodie. This is the Lorac Pro. I think this is probably one of my most used palettes. I went through a phase with this thing where I just could not put it down. I hit pan on cream. I'm about to hit pan on a few other shades. This was the palette that I would always use to travel with. There are other palettes now that I do prefer. It has a really nice selection of mattes, also really beautiful metallic shades, and I think this is just a really great everyday palette to have in your collection. Definitely one that I would highly recommend. I would say the only con with this palette is that it is quite powdery. You get a lot of kickoff and a lot of fallout. So that's the only thing that I would sort of warn you guys about. So next, I've got a Makeup Forever palette here. This is the 9 Artist Shadow palette. Now I really love it when Makeup Forever comes out with these palettes because their artist eyeshadows are probably some of my favorite eyeshadows out there. I think the formulation is just so amazing, but they are really expensive, especially for single eyeshadows. So it's really nice to get a little bit of a taste for their eyeshadow formula in a palette. Unfortunately, this one is not my favorite of the palettes, not because the quality of this eyeshadow palette isn't good. I don't find that the colors in here to be quite like amazing or mind-blowing. They're just sort of meh to me, and I really just don't use a lot of them in here, so I never ever reach for it. So I'm actually going to give this one away. So here's another Makeup Forever palette. This is the Artist 2, and this one contains a lot of really bright shades, some metallic shades. I'm definitely keeping this one, even though I don't really reach for the brighter metallic shades over here. All the other ones I definitely do use. They're so pigmented and just so creamy. Like, look at these swatches. Okay, moving on to probably one of the first eyeshadow palettes that I ever even had. This is the Urban Decay Naked palette. It's a classic. I should probably get rid of this because it is so old. I don't know, there's something about keeping an eyeshadow palette past like 7 years that doesn't really sit right with me. So I am probably just going to throw this one out just because it is so old, and honestly I really never reach for it. It's a nice neutral palette. It's definitely not mind-blowing. I feel like when this first came out, people went crazy over it because I believe it was, as far as my knowledge goes, the first neutral palette that was on the market. So everybody really loved it. I do wish that there were more mattes in here. That's my only gripe with this palette, but otherwise it's nice, but unfortunately I do gotta get rid of it. It sort of breaks my heart a little bit. just a touch. I just pulled out 3 Anastasia eyeshadow palettes. I'm gonna go through them pretty quickly and let you guys know my thoughts on them. So the first one here is a self-made palette. I actually think I'm gonna be giving this one away. I don't absolutely love the shades in here, and I do feel like some of the other Anastasia palettes are way more suited for my personal preferences. Next, we have the Shadow Couture palette. I'm probably gonna give this one away as well, just because a lot of the shades in here I already have either in other Anastasia palettes that I will keep or in single eyeshadow form, so I feel like it's just not necessary. Then we have the Artist palette. This one I'm definitely keeping because there are some really cool shades in here that I feel like I don't actually have in other palettes or in single eyeshadow form. There's this like really awesome matte yellow shade, a really beautiful matte blue. There's even like a periwinkle. There's just some like really cool shades in here that I definitely don't have like elsewhere, so I am gonna keep this one. And this is the Kat Von D Serpentina palette. Look at the swatches on these. They're beautiful. I feel like this palette just got lost in my collection, and I feel like it hasn't gotten enough love. So I was thinking I was gonna get rid of it, but after swatching these, I don't think I'm like able to, because they're just so beautiful. The eyeshadows are sort of mind-blowing. So I am gonna keep this, and I feel like now that I've sort of realized that I don't use it enough, I will pick it out of my collection a little more often. So there you go. So next I've got my 2 chocolate bar palettes. I have the original and the semi-sweet. The semi-sweet is a little bit injured. There's an eyeshadow missing in here, right over here. It was very upsetting because it was actually one of my favorite shades in here. I'm gonna be keeping both of these because I do really love all of the shades in here, and I do still reach for them quite often. And they smell delicious. I've got another Makeup Forever Artist eyeshadow palette. This one is number 1, and it's definitely my favorite. It has such a gorgeous variety of neutrals in here. There's a mix of metallics as well as mattes, and this is definitely my favorite one. Let me just give you guys a few little swatches just for fun because they're so beautiful. This is a product that I 100% regret purchasing. This is the Marc Jacobs Style Icon The Free Spirit palette. And I believe this was like a holiday palette, and I totally regret buying it because I don't think I've used this. And it kills me because this was such an expensive palette, and I bought this because honestly it just looks so beautiful in the stores. It was calling my name. I love like the packaging and everything about it, but in all reality I just never reached for it because it doesn't really have those everyday shades that I look for, and don't really feel like Marc Jacobs eyeshadows are totally worth the price. I sort of bought into the hype when people were first talking about them, but I've slowly realized that they're just really not for me. So unfortunately I think I'm actually going to be giving this one away. Ugh. I've got my 2 Morphe palettes here, my 35F and my 35O. I am going to keep these just to have them on hand. I also have my Violet Voss Pro palette. Definitely going to be keeping this one. I love this thing. I love the shades in here. I think it's a really beautiful palette, especially for every day. So I am going to be keeping this one. This is another palette that I totally regret purchasing because I really never use it. I bought this because of how much I love the Kat Von D Shade and Light Eye palette. This is the Monarch eyeshadow palette, and again, the eyeshadows in here are really beautiful as far as like the quality goes, but I really just don't find that I reach for the shades very often, and I truly never ever use this, so I am going to be giving this one away. Here we have my Tarte Tartelette palette. You guys know the Tartelette in Bloom is my favorite palette ever. That is a palette that I keep in the vanity in my bedroom, and this one is also really great. I just love the eyeshadows in the other one just a little bit more, but I am still gonna keep this one. Next, I've got the Maybelline 24 Karat Nudes palette. Now, I actually haven't tried this palette myself yet, but I have actually watched a few reviews on this, and a lot of people said that they don't like it, which is really disappointing to me because I actually had quite high hopes for this. I am gonna keep this because I do wanna try it out myself, but just makes me really sad that people didn't like this palette. Let me know if you guys have and your thoughts in the comments. Then we have my Manny and Makeup Geek palette. Definitely keeping this one. I love the shades in here, and if you're not familiar with Makeup Geek, their eyeshadows are incredible, so affordable. So this is staying in the keep pile. Next, I have this Estee Edit palette. This is from their holiday collection. It's the Gritty Eye palette. I'm not really sure what I want to do with this one. I mean, the eyeshadows in here are really pretty. Okay, no, I have to keep it. I have to keep it because look at these swatches. Whoa, so gorgeous. Yeah, this blue really got me. I can't get rid of it. I just can't. Look at that blue. Oh my god, I should do a tutorial with this shade. Whew, It's gorgeous. Now I have this Tarte Showstopper Clay palette. I think I'm actually going to be giving this one away. I'm going to be donating this one because I have never used it. I bought this actually with the intention to use it in a Tarte One brand tutorial a really long time ago. I actually never ended up doing that video, so it's sort of just been sitting in my makeup collection for a while, and honestly, it doesn't really excite me that much, so this one I am going to be donating. So we're actually moving on to the second basket, so let's just dig right in. This is the Too Faced Natural Love palette. I have had a few of you ask me if I would recommend this. Honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of this palette. I feel like a lot of the shades do have quite a lot of fallout. I think the palette is nice, but I think the price point is a little bit high. So overall, I'm just really not the biggest fan of it, and I am going to be giving this one away. This one totally brings me back. This is actually a custom palette that I made from Inglot, and I actually made this when I first started doing freelance work, and I used this on all of my clients. I actually really love Inglot eyeshadows. I feel like they are extremely underrated. Nobody talks about them. They are like, I think 3 times the size or twice the size as like MAC eyeshadows. They're really large. We've got a Kylie Cosmetics palette here. This is the bronze palette. Definitely keeping this just because it took me forever to get my hands on it. And I also honestly really like the Kylie palettes. I think that they are really nice as far as the quality of the eyeshadow goes. They're good. They're not mind-blowing, but they're good. And I really like the color combinations that she puts together. This one in particular is definitely one of my favorites. But I actually do have 3 dupe videos of 3 of the Kylie eyeshadow palettes where I duped every single shade in all of them, like multiple shades. I will link that down below if you want to check them out. Here are the NYX Ultimate palettes. I'm probably going to get rid of both of these. I do like these. However, I like the warm one the most. These 2 I don't really reach for quite often. The brights one is sort of a hit or miss depending on which shade you use, and the cool toned one really just doesn't have shades in it that I typically reach for, so I am going to be giving both these away. Here's the Huda Beauty Textured Eyeshadow Palette Rose Gold Edition. This is a really interesting palette. I think that the eyeshadows in here are quite nice. These shades right on top are really interesting. They're extremely foiled and metallic shades. They're really loose in their pan, so you've got to be very careful when applying them, and I feel like they only really apply well with your finger. You cannot apply these with a brush, but they are really beautiful and very metallic. However, I feel like they do have quite a lot of fallout. I've sort of yet to find a way to wear them without having so much fallout, but let me know in the comments if any of you have tried this palette and if you have a good idea of how to, you know, not get fallout with this palette. So here's the Urban Decay Ultimate Basics palette. I am going to be keeping this one. I do really like it. There's some really great just matte staples in here. I feel like Urban Decay was really listening to their customer base with this palette, because I feel like with a lot of their palettes that they come out with, they often don't put enough mattes in. So it was really exciting when they came out with an all matte palette, and I do really enjoy this one. So I am going to keep it. Next, we've got the Tarteist Pro palette. I get asked all the time what I think about this, and I really like it. It's a really beautiful palette. The quality of the eyeshadows are just like the quality of the eyeshadows from the other 2 Tarte lip palettes. And I love that they also have like these more metallic shades over here, and all the rest of the shades are matte. This is another fairly new palette that I have in my collection. This is the Too Faced Peanut Butter and Honey palette. It smells like peanut butter French toast, so I mean, I feel like I should keep it just for that fact in and of itself. I think that the shades in here are really cool. I actually have not yet tried it because it is so new in my collection, but I am looking forward to it because I feel like the shades in here are definitely a little bit more unique. Next, I have my Urban Decay Full Spectrum palette. Now, I'm definitely going to keep this because I feel like it is always great to have some more unique and bright colors in a makeup collection, just in case you ever want to get a little bit different with your makeup. This one, let's swatch a few just for fun. Pretty. This is another YouTuber made eyeshadow palette. This is the Identity palette from the brand Persona, which is Sona Gasparian's brand. If you're not familiar with her, she is an awesome YouTuber. I am 100% keeping this. I'm gonna do a few swatches for you guys. I think this is a wonderful palette to have just on your everyday vanity because the shades in here are definitely very wearable. There's a really nice mixture of mattes and shimmers. The mattes are creamy, the metallics are really intense, and I just think it is beautiful, and Sona did a wonderful job on this. So it's not even a question. I'm definitely keeping this one. So now moving on to the third basket, I've got these 2 Urban Decay eyeshadow palettes here. The first one is the Vice 2. First of all, the packaging is gorgeous. Definitely cannot deny that. The eyeshadows in here are also nice. However, I am going to get rid of this eyeshadow palette just because I feel like I definitely don't reach for it anymore. This one over here is the Alice Through the Looking Glass palette. I'm also going to be giving this one away. I actually honestly wasn't very impressed with this palette. I feel like the eyeshadows in here could have just been a little bit better. The pigmentation was a little bit weak. The Sweet Peach palette. Not really sure why this palette had so much hype. I think that the colors in here are nice. I think that they work well. I don't think that the quality is bad whatsoever. I'm just not really sure why there was so much hype around this product, just because I don't feel like it was totally mind-blowing. The scent really drives me crazy. I hate the scent of the Sweet Peach products. They're way too sweet and way too chemically for me. Just sort of throws me off a little bit. I am still gonna keep this just because I feel like I can't get rid of it, but I don't think it was worth the hype. It's just me. This is such a throwback. This is my Battle Lash for Saucebox palette. I think Sam would kill me if I got rid of it, so I'm definitely keeping it. Kylie Holiday palette. I really dislike this. I think this was a terrible palette. Firstly, I feel like it wasn't a consistent palette. The other eyeshadows worked really well. These didn't really work very well. Also, I don't feel like this is a very cohesive palette. I feel like the selection of colors are sort of strange. Definitely can't build like a full look with just this palette. I only like one shade in here, which is this silver shade. It's really bright and intense, but honestly, that's it. So I actually am going to be getting rid of this. Next is the Kat Von D Mi Vida Loca palette. Now, I honestly really wish that she would make this palette permanent in her collection, because I think it is so great. It has that Kat Von D formula that we all know and love, and I think that the rainbow shades in here are just really beautiful, and I love the fact that she also included some neutral staples like right in the center to actually create a full look with this palette, because a lot of the times when you get like a really bright palette, there are only bright colors and you always have to reach for other palettes in order to actually finish off a look. But she includes these shades over here, which are so useful for grounding a look. Really happy that I picked it up when I did. And like I said, I hope that she brings it back one day. Or something similar at least. The Revlon Colors Stay Not Just Nudes palette. This is the palette that David bought me when he did the Boyfriend Buys My Makeup challenge for the drugstore. This palette I think is pretty not great. While the shades in here are really beautiful and I feel like it has that potential, the actual quality of the eyeshadows just really aren't there. The mattes are really chalky and I feel like the metallics are sort of just lackluster. So I actually am going to be getting rid of this one. Sorry, David. Oh, this is such a throwback. This is my Urban Decay Electric palette. I am going to keep this one because, like I said, I do think it is great to have very high quality brights in your collection, and I do think that the quality of these eyeshadows are fantastic. Probably some of the best bright eyeshadows out there. I mean, just look at this. Really can't beat that. Oh my god. I didn't even know I had another one of these. This is another one of the Revlon Not Just Nudes palette, but this one is in number 2, Romantic Nudes. I mean, I'm also gonna get rid of this one because I can't imagine the quality being that much better, so. Just gonna put that over there. Oh yeah, okay. These are the Charlotte Tilbury eyeshadow quads. I really was fairly disappointed by these. I feel like because they are so expensive, you sort of expect eyeshadows that are top notch, and I feel like they're just not that great. The mattes are just sort of chalky, and the metallics just really have like no color payoff whatsoever. They're just like really dry shadows. So I'm definitely going to be getting rid of both of these just because I definitely never use them. I don't think that the Charlotte Tilbury quads are really worth it. So yeah, those are my thoughts on these, unfortunately. Next, we've got the Smashbox Shape Matters palette. I don't love this palette. I feel like all the shades in here are different variations of like the same tone. Like these 2 pinks are the same, these 3 browns are the same, etc, etc. I don't know, it's just not the most exciting neutral palette, and I'm going to be getting rid of this one. Now moving on to the last and final basket of palettes. We are almost done, guys. So first, starting off with this Natasha Denona Star palette. I actually had a bit of a change of heart with this palette. At first, I didn't really love it because I found that the metallics had a ton of fallout. Like as soon as you would touch the product, powder would sort of just crumble off. That isn't something that I love about the palette. However, when you actually apply them to the lids, they are beautiful. And the Natasha Denona mattes are also really gorgeous. So I do use this palette actually quite often. Do I even need to say anything about this? This is the Anastasia Modern Renaissance. Of course I'm keeping it. This is probably one of my all-time favorite palettes. I think that Anastasia did an amazing job with this this palette. The shades in here are wearable, yet they're different and unique at the same time. I love that there are so many mattes in here and also some really great shimmers. I think that it is just such an amazing and versatile palette. I actually did do a video where I used just this palette on my whole entire face, like for my brows, my lips, my bronzer, my contour, my blush, for everything. And so it really does prove that this eyeshadow palette is really awesome for just like all around the face. It's so, so good. If you can get your hands on it, highly recommend it. Definitely probably one of my most used palettes. Here we have some Zoeva eyeshadow palettes. I do feel like Zoeva eyeshadows are super underrated. I don't think enough people talk about them. They really are just really wonderful quality. I'll swatch a few for you. They're just super creamy and buttery. Just that texture that when you feel it, you're like, oh yeah, this is gonna be a good eyeshadow. This one is my personal favorite. It is called the Nude Spectrum. I just love all the shades in here. Also really great for every day, so definitely keeping both of them. I have this huge stack of Morphe palettes here. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'm going to get rid of them just because I'm not the biggest fan of these. The only ones that I do like are the 35O and 35F, which I already kept in another basket before, but the other ones I really just don't use. I don't love them, so I am going to put these in the no pile. Pretty heavy. Next is the Too Faced Peanut Butter and Jelly palette. It smells so good. Honestly, just Too Faced just gets it right with the scents of their products. They're all so delicious. Should I keep this? I'm not really sure. I don't really use this palette that often, but I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep it. I do like the shades in here. It smells amazing, and honestly, it's the scent, okay? I love the scent. I'm gonna keep it because of the scent. Urban Decay Naked 3 palette. This is actually my least favorite of the Naked palettes. Then we have the Naked Smoky palette. I actually am going to keep this one. I think this is probably one of my favorites. This is the Lorac Pro 2 palette. Definitely keeping this one. As I mentioned, I love the Lorac eyeshadow formula, and the shades in here are really beautiful. I love the metallics in here. Specifically, this jade shade is the most gorgeous green. Oh my god, I totally forgot about this one. This is my Becca Ombre Rouge eyeshadow palette. It's a really simple palette. It's a nice variety of just warm nudes. All the shades are matte. I do really like this actually. I used to use it all the time on an everyday basis, so I'm actually gonna put this aside and put this in my vanity and use it more often. Next, I have my Master palette by Mario from Anastasia. Now, I do really like this palette, and I know that a lot of you have been wanting to see a dupe video on this. I am still planning on doing it, perhaps sometime soon. Let me know if you guys still want to see that. So that is it for all of my eyeshadow palettes. Now you may have realized that I did not go through my single eyeshadows or my custom eyeshadow palettes because that is like a whole nother monster, and we'll have to get into that in another video. I feel like I did a pretty good job as far as decluttering goes. Here's a little clip of all the palettes that I decluttered. I'm giving myself a little bit of a pat on the back because typically it is really hard for me to let go of products, but I feel like it is like totally necessary. So I really hope that you guys enjoyed today's video. Definitely let me know what category we should do next, and whatever gets the most comments I will definitely do next time. Give this video a big thumbs up so that I know that you enjoy these types of videos, and of course subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and I will see you guys next time.